for deliberations for our planning department as they begin their work. And then we will get into our hearing agenda. We have a hearing agenda, and I believe we also have a meeting agenda as well that we'll go through. Some with action, some first time, and then some that we will not need to take action on tonight, but still looking to advance the work of the department. So on our consent agenda, again, I will summarize. I'll do three that have their first appearance today and have relatively minor action, and see if there's anyone that has anything to say on those projects. And to remind members of the public that you will have 3 minutes to speak on any particular project. Those that are elected officials representing our city council, if they want to speak, they have 6 minutes because they represent broad neighborhoods. And as always, we ask that you be respectful of others, and let's be mindful and graceful of folks' time. If someone has already spoken to your issue, just let turn. I did. It's already been said here. Just re-listening it. So getting into the agenda, on the consent side, we have application for number 0177. This covers quite a bit of property. You can see on the screen 85 to 89, 129 to 133, 137 to 145, 51, 151, 155, and 159 Broad Street. 134 to 138 and 145 to 147 Clinton Street. 10, 23, 33, 38, 44, 47, and 51 through 53 Second Avenue, 229 South Pearl Street, 1 and 4 Tunis, 29, 33 through 35, 36, 49 and 57 through 57 Third Avenue, and this is for construction of 39 single, 2, 3, and multi-dwelling unit structures totaling 108 dwelling units. First appearance in a meeting and before this board up for consideration on the consent agenda. There's only one small action today, which would be to declare the board or the planning department as lead agency for SECRA. And of note that these are vacant lots, and the vacant lots are currently owned by the land bank and the city of Albany. So I wanted to pause on this one and see from our staff if we had any comments from the public, or if there were folks in the audience that had signed up to speak tonight on this one.
Yeah.
Great. The second item for our consent agenda bundle is project number 00540, which is 400 Northern Boulevard, including 6B through 10 Dudley Heights. Our applicant is Kip Tech Valley Charter High School, and the proposal will be for construction of a 108,400 square foot school to include the demolition of the adjacent structure at 6B 10 Dudley Heights. Action under consideration today is again SECRA lead agency declaration. I do see members of the Kip family here. I don't know if there are any particular comments or presentation that you wanted to make tonight, or if you were okay with us advancing this on the consent agenda. So perfectly fine with me. Again, today's action for the high school would be for declaring lead agency here with the planning department. Next on the list, oh, I'm sorry, are there any comments from the public on this one?
No.
No, great. Next project, 00516. Also, first appearance, the property address would be 60 Broadway. And the proposal would be demolition of a 5,600 square foot structure to be replaced by a parking area in service of the transit facility used operating at the site. The action under consideration would be demolition review with conditions that those conditions would be that prior issuance of the building permit, landscaping plan shall be submitted to the Department of Planning and Development for review of landscape standards and provided through the USDO. And prior to the issuance of the building permit, final approval shall be obtained from the Department of Water and Water Supply. Are there any questions from? Excellent. Are there any questions from the audience on 60 Broadway?
Is it the old bus station or the one that was working till a year or so ago? You know, we're talking about the one that's really on Broadway?
Yeah, it's on Broadway. It's the vacant building. So it's been a vacant building for several years.
Right, but it's not the former station. It's down by their maintenance facility.
It's considered lower Broadway. It's down by the U-Haul. It's on the river.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, for the record, can you, thank you, but for the record, ma'am, can you please state your name and address?
Claire Yates, 138 Chestnut Street.
Thank you so much. Any further remarks from the audience? To make sure we capture all public comment. All right, thank you. And project number 4 on the consent agenda. Also a demo review. This one is at 897 Broadway. The proposal is to have an addition of 17 parking spaces to the existing surface lot. I feel like we saw this at the last meeting. A partial demo of 6,455 square foot portion of an existing building at the site was already approved. So this is the next part, right?
The development plan. Yes.
Okay, so this is a development plan review. With a recommendation to approve the following conditions. Prior to the issuance of the building permit and easement agreement with 913 Broadway. The parcel ID is 65.16-4-29 to ensure continuation of access by 897 Broadway. Parcel ID 65.16-4-30 shall be submitted and approved. Any repairs as a result of this proposed demolition should be in kind and sympathetic to the historic material. Number 3, applicant shall obtain ministerial approvals for the proposed parking area and commence construction within 6 months of development plan review approval, or shall return to the board to discuss an interim plan. Again, this is development plan review, and we would want to approve that with those 3 conditions. Is there anyone that is signed up to speak in regards to this one? Excellent. So those are the 5 items for the consent agenda. I should read the properties off again. It's the South End bundle, including Broad Street, Clinton Ave, 2nd Avenue, Clinton Street. Sorry, not Clinton Avenue. South Pearl Street, Tudor Street, and 3rd Avenue. The second is 400 Northern Boulevard. The third is 60 Broadway. The fourth is 897 Broadway. I believe that completes the list for that. All right. Board members, do you have any comments on any of the 4 consent agenda items for tonight? All right, is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda in the 4 projects therein?
So moved.
And second,
It's been moved and properly seconded. All questions have been answered for each project. Please signify by saying aye if you approve. Passes. Thank you very much. As I said, at this point, if there's anybody whose project's already been heard and you're not staying for a later one, please feel free to exit the building. We'll see you in the next go round. Have a pleasant evening. Hearing agenda, the first one is project 00526 on application for CP 0065. First appearance 497 Washington Ave with our applicant is James Scott, representing agent Michael Rickley. You guys looking to do something mixed use, form-based midtown for the allowance of a bar or tavern to use to occupy 900 square foot ground level of a building at the premises. This is the first appearance. There are no actions under consideration, but we look forward to your presentation. Thank you. Floor is yours.
So on this first slide, we have project location 497 Washington Avenue. On the picture to the left is the picture of our establishment. This is a 2-story building. We have tenants on the top floor. We've spoken to them already about our endeavor, and they're in favor of us opening the bar. They can't wait for our grand opening. Hopefully that happens. On the picture to the top right corner, we have a picture from GeoMaps showing the zoning. And highlighted in green, you can see it in conjunction to the other buildings. On the bottom right corner is a picture from Google Maps in conjunction to the other businesses in the area. Where the red star is where the building will be located. And we'll go on to the next slide. So in the next upcoming slides will be pictures of our establishment. This is an up close and personal picture, just to show you what it would look like outside. We move on to the next slide. This is a picture of in the middle of the street, showing you in conjunction to the other buildings next to it. You can move on to the next slide. This is another picture showing across the street, just giving you an idea and a different perspective of what it would look like. Next picture. This is a picture from the right angle from across the street. You can move on, there's nothing different. And then this is a picture from the left angle from across the street as well. So the next, the last picture here is showing the neighboring buildings. There's 3 buildings on the left-hand side. This is showing the street view, and then there's also 2 buildings on the right-hand side as well. We can move on.
So here we have the floor plan retrieved from the Albany Hall of Records. This first floor plan is going to be just showing where the doors and the windows are and the distance between each as well as the front of the building. Here's going to be the inside of the bar. As I stated before, this is retrieved from the Albany Hall of Records. It just shows where the bar is located, the men's room, the women's room, the dartboard, access to outside, the basement, as well as the stairs. Here's going to be our proposed floor plan, which is identical to the one that we retrieved, just showing the backyard area and the distance on the sides of the building as well. So we just took the original floor plan and expanded on it. Here's going to be the basement, where it just shows the door, the cooler, the office storage space with the exact same dimensions as the first floor. It's just the basement area of the same building.
Here on this next slide, we have information on proposed use. So we plan on having the bar open Monday through Sundays, 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. at a respectable hour to allow our patrons to get home safe. We have the number of employees would be 5. We have about 1 to 2 security guards, 1 to 2 bartenders, James and I will also be overseeing the premises as well. And we also will have a manager, Michael Ripley, who has owned Blue 82. That was on, what was the name of the street that was on? South Broad Street. My bad about that. But yeah, that he's also going to be our manager in reference to this endeavor of ours. The next closest similar conditional use will be Washington Tavern, which is at 250 Western Avenue, which is approximately 0.3 miles away from the Red Room. And the Madison Pub would be the next closest conditional use, which would be on 869 Madison Avenue, approximately 0.6 miles away from the Red Room as well. Next on the list would be the required permits that we would need to have this bar up and running. We can move on the next slide we have here are anticipated questions that we believe that we may have in reference to opening this bar. And one of the first questions we have is the anticipated noise, light, odors that extend beyond the property boundaries. And there will be standard bar related odors, nothing different than any other bars, no unique or elevated increase in noise. We already tested out the music inside to see how the music would sound, and we already closed the doors just to get a perfect medium, and we found a good volume. There is also the plan to increase external lighting to create a safer environment within the vicinity of our building. We've already got accepted for our sign outside, and it does provide a better lighting outside of the building, so that we also anticipate that as well. We also will have trained professional security guards that will be employed, who will be responsible for the safety of all of the patrons who are coming inside of the building in and out. They will be overseeing, making sure that no one is lingering outside of the building, no one is littering or just hanging out. If you're inside, you're just inside. So the next question that we believe would have been posed is does this site receive frequent deliveries from large vehicles? And yes, we will be receiving food deliveries. Some of them will be fresh deliveries daily. Some of them will be liquor and soft drink deliveries every 1 to 2 weeks. On this side of the building, there is a driveway where there's a black fence in the pictures. And this is where there will be any vehicles if they're going to park. This is where they will be located. And this will not impact any traffic on Washington Avenue if they're able to park on this in the driveway. The last question is, are there any unplanned public infrastructure or service improvements to the establishment? And no, there won't be any changes to the current structure. We plan on keeping it as is. The only minor changes will be paint job inside.
This is basically an executive narrative to just highlight just our backgrounds and where we come from, where we've been. We have a background of being a local event planners, also entrepreneurs, role models, and we just love what the city and community has to offer, and we just want to contribute to the economy that helps develop us. Very detail oriented, and when we go into this endeavor, we want to make sure that safety is the primary concern. We also students of the Albany, so we both graduated from the University of Albany, and we mentor the Albany and St. Louis students currently. We used to own a t-shirt shop that was right around the corner from where the bar is currently located, so we're also familiar with doing business in the neighborhood. And as my partner stated earlier, we have someone called Michael Ripley, who owned Blue 82 for 18 years, and he left the bar and tavern business on his own accord and in good standing with the New York State Liquor Authority. So we just hope with his guidance and with the approval of the planning board that we'll be able to do the same, if not have a longer run in the liquor business with identical ethics. Here's just a picture of our New York State Liquor Authority license approval. So this is just from the state, just showing that what we got approved for, the location, and it also highlights what we can and can't do on the license as well. So this is our previous zoning approval letter that we received in 2019. As you guys know, as of 2017, I believe, if the bar is unoccupied for more than 1 year, it loses its grandfather status. So this is just our previous zoning approval letter from 2019, pre-pandemic. And this is just to show the history of the building and that we're not trying to do anything that wasn't already done in the space. This is a support letter that we got from Guerrero T. Ferro. He's one of the Albany County legislators that we also went to Albany with, and he just wanted to write us a support letter. He wanted us to outline exactly what our plans was and how he intended on going about it. And this was just to show not only did we have the support of the community, we also had the support of our elected officials as well.
Here on the next slide here, we have 50 signatures of residents within the 11th ward. So we took it upon ourselves and we went out and we had the zoning, the picture of the zoning of all of the homes that are in the area. And we went out door to door and we kind of just spoke to people in the neighborhood just to give them a brief understanding of what we plan on doing with our business endeavor. And you were able to get up to 50 signatures. On each side, you see there's a document of 25 signatures. So we just explained to them what we plan on doing, and they were definitely looking forward to us doing this endeavor. On the next slide here is the affidavit of delivery and posting notices. So this is just showing the notarized document where we had to put 2 of the documents in front of the building to show that anyone that passed by, if they wanted to see anything in regards to this meeting, any comments or questions, they were able to see this information. And the other half of this document shows that we went around and we checked off all the homes that we also knocked on door to door to explain to them that what we plan on doing with the Red Room, and just letting them know they have the opportunity to ask questions at today's meeting as well. Here is the Red Room's food menu. We plan on having appetizers, main, and desserts. There should be house salads, chips and sauce and guacamole, house fries, something simple, grilled cheese sandwiches, cheese sticks for our cheese lovers. And then for the main, there's going to be beef patties. If you guys know about the Caribbean culture with Jamaican beef patties, that's what we plan on doing there. Loaded nachos, loaded fries, and then pizza, and then mozzarella sticks. And then on the dessert side, we have ice cream, Oreo chocolate cake, and then chocolate chip cookies. On this last slide here, we have a picture of the driveway, just to give you guys an idea of where the vehicles will be parked in case we needed any deliveries that are coming to our establishment. That's exactly where they would be. So we just wanted to show and highlight this within the slide as well.
Yeah, and our last slide is basically any questions that you want to have.
Questions? Do we have any questions from the audience?
No questions, no comments.
All right, well, thank you for your initial presentation. Do we have any follow-up we want to do from the staff perspective?
So we have to wait for the Albany County Planning Board to get its determination before we can take action. So that'll likely take place at the next planning board meeting. Which is why we can't put forward a recommended action tonight. You know, some of the recommendations we will have though will be regarding the outdoor seating, so making sure that there's not music out there specifically, and looking to have certainly more restricted hours out there just to prevent any potential nuisance or things like that to the adjacent residential properties.
Thank you very much for presenting.
Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it.
Excellent. Okay, next up, project 00529, application CUP 0066, 61 Dana Ave. Proposal is for the conversion of 3,825 square foot townhouse, increasing the total number of dwelling units from 2 to 3. Also, the first appearance on the agenda, no recommended action for the board today, but we'd like to hear the initial presentation from the applicant.
slide's fairly short. I just printed completed copies of the application as well, just in case anybody doesn't have any particular photographs that I referenced or any part of the application. So, that's good. Pass these out. Well, Jeff, pretty sure Justin's pretty familiar with it. You want one?
I think I got it all.
If anyone in the public wants one, I have extra. I'm happy to have you. Nice to see you. All right, good evening. Nice to see everyone. While since I've sat here. We have two very similar applications, so I'm gonna go through the nitty-gritty on this one, and then hopefully with our follow-up on 89, I can be a little more condensed. This is for a conditional use permit. Obviously, as it states, we are looking to convert a 3,825 square foot townhouse and increase the amount of dwelling units, specifically as per what is allowed in the code, to add a garden level unit at both of these properties. So now, it's in the RT zoning district. The stated purpose of the RT zoning district is to provide for neighborhoods containing a blend of townhouse style dwellings of varying sizes and configurations. A mix of uses is permitted where the existing building topologies and built fabric of the area are consistent with such uses. This proposed use, which is a permitted use via this conditional use permit, really further fulfills the purpose of the residential townhouse zoning district. This is why this conditional use was put into laws for properties like this to achieve their best and greatest use. So the proposed use does meet all of the requirements in section 375 3C of the USDO. Meets the minimum area required. The conversion will not exceed the total number of dwelling units allowed in the zoning district. And there will be no exterior alterations to the building at all. There are already existing steps on both structures going down to the basement. You'll be able to see on this floor plan and the other, and some of the photos that we provided. And really the trick with some of these is there are properties that have that garden level, may even have steps down in various residential townhouse zoning districts that do not meet the height requirements. Because you'll see some of these buildings have very low windows. And while that might meet a code standard to provide a window, it doesn't really meet modern safety standards. And it also tends to mean that the basement level has a pretty short configuration. So with these properties in particular, right there, thank you. I measured to illustrate that the height is in congruence with what is permitted in the zoning code for this conditional use permit. So we're looking at 37.5 inches from the floor to the start of the windows, which are at street level, and then another 47 inches to the ceiling. And what you have is full-size windows that once we replace the existing windows that are there, they'll be able to slide up and down and open properly. What you don't have is little basement windows that really can't do more than crank open. So in terms of necessity, desirability of service, I mean, we're looking at adding a total between these two projects of 2 units to the city of Albany. In general, with the lack of inventory in the city of Albany, it's hard to find a negative impact from adding 2 additional dwelling units. We don't expect to have any trouble to rent them. The applicant, Mr. Katsani, owns a sizable amount of property in the Park South neighborhood and is at full occupancy and has been there for 20 plus years now as a neighbor and a landlord. We did also identify a lot of similar properties that are within 10% of the total building area and lot acreage. I think I hold almost 24 properties within a half block that are a similar townhouse construction style and have 3 units, second, first, and ground level. So it's certainly You know, this is not an application that would be out of congruence with the existing housing stock that is in the Park South neighborhood. Seeker was pretty straightforward on this. You know, we're tying into existing municipal sewer and water lines. We're not adding more than, you know, 1 or 2 one-bedroom apartments to the, you know, the impact on municipal services such as mass transit or off-street parking. I think one of the trickier things with these and with townhouses in general, Avi, if you wouldn't mind, sir, going back to the site plan, just so I can point at kind of where the property line is and what's going on. You can't tell from this site plan whether or not this is a fully attached townhouse or if there's a space between this and any of the neighboring properties. So I did take a photograph to illustrate that there is an easement between this and the property to the northwest. And that's at the end of the slides, and it's in the packet I just handed out. You could see that there is room to be able to access the rear of the property and store trash. Because one of the things that happens with any property, whether it's a 2-family or you're looking at, you know, a 3-family conversion, is that especially when the density increases, there's, you know, you go from maybe 2 trash cans to maybe 3, maybe 4. And where's that trash going to be stored if the garden level is now being occupied, if the basement stairwell is now being utilized as a front door? So it's an important question that comes up in this process. And in this property and in the other property we're going to present, there's the ability to store the trash in the rear of the property. I think I shrank that photo a little to fit it into the slide, but it makes it look a little smaller than it is. But it is, I think I noted it on the plans. It is a roughly, I did it on 89. It's a roughly 4 foot. It's a 3 foot and I think 12-inch wide. So you can fit trash cans and people down that path on the side. So we went into the floor plans. Avi, if you would not mind going over to the ground. Yeah, great. I broke them right down there. So the second and third floor are existing. Those floors are getting updated, but they are already laid out. And other than cosmetic and some plumbing and HVAC finishes, the addition of 1 bathroom and actually a decrease in the amount of total bedrooms. They're both currently 3 bedrooms as of right, as purchased. We're gonna actually decrease those by adding a bathroom and an office and converting 1 bedroom to an office. So we're actually in both the first and second floor. I have them labeled 1, 2, 3 with the ground floor, so it's a little tricky to know what to call them, but that's how my computer program printed them out. But the second and third floor are really the first and second floors of the property, and the first floor is labeled there as the garden level unit that we're adding. So we're actually in theory decreasing the amount of people that will more than likely be occupying the property, even as we add 1 additional 1 bedroom on the garden level. And that's the same for, I believe, both of these. So it's really what we're here in front of you for, of course, as you know, is to be allowed via this conditional use permit to move forward with that garden level unit. We have laid it out in such a way where we can utilize almost the entire floor. There is a utility closet in the center, it's labeled, which will have some utilities for servicing the entire property. And then the electrical and HVAC will be routed directly to each individual unit via mini splits on each floor and electrical panels in the individual units. And that's how we're able to maximize. This one was a little easier than some townhouses because we're talking about a 3,200 square foot. We have a lot of room to play with to make sure that we're doing fairly large apartments. That isn't always the case with some of these townhouses, I'm sure, with some that have been in front of you. In this case, it was pretty straightforward. This is quite a sizable 1 bedroom apartment that's going to be on the garden level there. But regardless, we made sure that we maximize and that the entire floor plate almost, other than the rear stairwell egress and that small utility closet, is being utilized as living space. So we easily meet that standard that is in the code of it's in front of me somewhere, I think it's 80% of the total floor plate. We're not even close to hitting that, we're well above that. And I think, you can see the condition of the property from some of the photos. 61, I think we're already moving on that, or that's at 89 more is on the exterior, 89, yeah, so 61 is still sitting with the next property. We've already gotten permits and moved ahead with exterior renovations, so there's already improvements in the facade with new carpentry work and new exterior siding. I'm just gonna, this came very fast, so anybody who says that the Albany Planning Board or Planning Department does not move efficiently is, I know I'm pandering blatantly, but it's very true. This turned over within a day or so after we submitted the completed application, and we had less than a week. We were able to put together some letters of support, but I didn't get them to Mr. Espal before tonight. I'm gonna email them for your consideration in the future. I'd like to read one from the president. It's very brief, of the Neighborhood Association President, Andrew Harvey. If that's okay with you, Mr. Chairman. Dear Albany Planning Board, my name is Andrew Harvey. I have been president of the Park South Neighborhood Association for almost 3 decades. During this time period, Park South has undergone a near miraculous transformation. A key person in making this happen has been Dino Cazzani, the applicant, who has purchased numerous dwellings in Park South and redeveloped them to become very desirable housing. The goal of the Park South Urban Renewal Plan was to create an environment in which individuals like Mr. Cazzani would invest in our housing stock. Mr. Cazzani has stepped forward, up to the plate, and helped to actualize the vision of the PSURP. The proposed redevelopment of the properties located at 61 Moore Street and 89 Moore Street by Mr. Cazzani is in alignment with the vision of the PSURP. Please look favorably upon his request for a ground level dwelling unit at each of these properties. Thank you. And as I said, I'll get these over to you. I'll scan them all in and email them and add them to your record. That's it for 61 Dan.
Absolutely. Any questions from the board? And do we want to comment on the 2 properties in conjunction because they're similar? That's fine.
Is that okay?
Do we have any comments from the audience on this one? You can roll right into your next property.
Great, thank you. So
Well,
80,
no, I have a
Oh,
question.
you do?
Okay,
Sorry.
you didn't pause, so you. Just looking at your floor plan for 61 Dana at the first floor,
Mhm.
like that bathroom is very far from the bedroom. Is there a reason for that? I'm just thinking of, usually people who are gardening can't use stairs, things of that nature. And so having that bathroom being closer to the bedroom would be better, so.
So the plumbing is there, and it's not so much strategically from us. Now, keep in mind, it's all 1 floor. So there's no stairs, no nothing, and the kitchen is also there. But that is where all the plumbing works, and we've brought the plumbing specialist, so they have requested to keep them there. But I understand and agree, we wanted it closer. We typically, in that case, would usually like to do a master bedroom, but it was not possible under however the pipes work here. That was
So even moving the bedroom to the back?
So if you move the bedroom to the back, then we have an issue with getting access to the fire escape. It becomes narrower. That was another thing that could have worked out great in theory, but it's that staircase that we need access to. And the only thing that we could put in there was just make a larger living room and have the office there as well.
Okay.
great question, thank you.
Thank you.
I can move on to 89. Great. All right, so this is a very similar circumstance. I'm gonna focus on pointing out the differences, and explaining, what we're looking at. Applying for the same conditional use permit. This is a smaller building by about 200 square feet total, spread between the 3 floors. So we do have a slightly smaller, slightly narrower floor plate, which you'll see an immediate impact when you compare the proposed garden level for this property compared to 61. We also have a switch in the layout where the side of the building that the stairwell and entrance is, it's mirrored. And then in the rear, you have an exterior stairwell and egress on this property, an existing exterior stairwell and egress. Whereas with 89, with 61 Dana, you have an interior egress and an interior stairwell, which honestly is a lot of the difference between the square footage, frankly speaking. So with this one, it's a similar layout. We have the bedroom loaded in the front, so you can get that daylight and the windows on the front of the property. We loaded the bathroom in the back, again, because there's really no way to lay out a living room, dining room, kitchen. If you load that living room, dining room, kitchen in the rear of the property and you move the bathroom up to the front, you end up with a kind of a narrow, awkward bathroom instead of a large, slightly larger, more square, which is easier to achieve handicap ADA compliance with that. Which, even though with any of these townhouses, you're going down a set of stairs or up a set of stairs, you still have to meet code compliance because there are different levels of disability. Not all of them are just a wheelchair, as I'm sure, as all of you know, I'm sure. In this one, I did note the alleyway and the width there. Glasses are new to me, so this one is a little narrower than the other. It's at 2'6". And we did check, you can still fit a full-size trash can down that alleyway, which was important to us, because again, otherwise we need to figure out, an alternative of some sort, which I have not been able to do yet. In townhouses, people usually just fight with the Historic Resources Commission over their like gated, fences for those. So in this case, we didn't have to worry about it. This layout, again, is existing on the first and second floors. It's a different layout. That's how the property was purchased. There are actually already tenants on the third floor of this property. There was a little confusion here. I'm not sure if it was a point of contention in any way, but I'd like to take a quick moment to explain what happened. We did actually receive a building permit for this property, including the ground level apartment, and that was done in error on the part of the building department. Once the mistake was caught, we actually went to the planning department as we were figuring out. We had asked for a ZCC, and the zoning compliance certificate didn't match up with the permitting that we had as we were moving to close on the property. We realized that the building department had made a mistake, and we actually willfully came forward and said, hey, how can we do this the right way? And this is the correct route for that, and we put it in front of you, and here we are. So in this property, once we realized the mistake, we haven't even been issued a stop work. We just willingly stopped working on the property until we could present it and get an approval. So just in case that comes up, or if there was a question from the public on it. But that's also how we were able to work on the exterior, because there isn't 2 existing units, and we were issued a permit to start to improve and repair the exterior of the property. Let's see, physically, this property is very similar in a lot of physical ways, other than being a mirror. It has an existing stairwell we won't be adding or changing the exterior of the property. The windows on this one, if you would not mind going to that slide, yeah. They are a little higher from the ground, so are 39 inches. And part of that is, if you look at the exterior, there's an extra bit of lip. In this shot, you can definitely see it, where it doesn't start right at the ground level like it does at 61. That's something that can actually, we meet the code as is, but more than likely, we're going to probably try to reclaim several inches there and come even closer to the intent of the USDO, because the bigger the window, the happier the tenant. It's just a no-brainer, the more light you get. So we certainly are not fans of the current configuration. It's not attractive to any tenant. Otherwise, this one, those are really the key differences. That's about it on 89.
Thank you. Any additional questions from the board on 89 Morris?
Just a quick question on the, that's this one, right? Yeah. On the ground level apartment, seems like the hallway is very wide.
There is a bearing wall couldn't touch it. And as this property was purchased, the underground plumbing work had been done and concrete was poured. So the limitations were greater than the other building. At least the other building is a clean slate to do what we need to do. So here we were even more limited on what we could do. So that wall that you see is already pre-existing, it's bearing wall, and it continues to the other side. Actually continues all the way across, but it only shows there. So it's open in the middle, but nevertheless, it's still there.
Yeah, right across that middle, even where we've had to make an opening. There will still be a slightly lower by about 4 inches, because there's a beam running through there that's structural.
Just a little long.
Yeah.
And then what is the structure kind of in the middle on the right?
So that's where the main pipes, the main stack comes from above. We figure we're going to have the water heater there as well. So almost like a mechanical room, if you may. But it's
Sorry,
small.
I couldn't fit utility into that tiny space, and that's why I didn't label it. Thank you.
Yeah, but that is, we could call it a utility space. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, on that note, thank you for that question. Similar, utilizing modern building standards and things that are not just in vogue, but are also very practical now. Moving away from large furnace systems and forced air systems and over to mini splits, which are both now becoming cost effective for install and cost effective on, if you do pursue LEED certification for those, we're able to reclaim a lot of square footage that previously was not reclaimable. You typically, with a lot of these basements, you had a large, what we call an octopus furnace system, and there was just no way to get those back. Also, unfortunately, or for what many reasons, they tended to build all the electrical panels into the basement. As people's living standards have improved, and it's really don't want to have to go down to a creepy, scary basement that flip breakers. And the current standard is to try to load them into the apartment themselves. You get less phone calls on the maintenance. But those are some of the things that we're starting to see that allow for this to happen. When previously they were a lot more difficult.
Also to be updated, we're extremely focused on extremely high efficient everything, and these two buildings will be, as many before this, totally run on electric. Everything is extremely high efficient. They include the heating, the cooling, so much and so forth. So the tenant will be able to have a better home to live in.
It's definitely the direction that the state is moving. The governor's made that very clear. Why fight it? Honestly, we found that we can use it to our advantage and start to pursue scenarios like this.
Where do you put exterior units?
In the back are more common. The roofs are harder to access because at the very least, once a year you need to do maintenance and that is at the very least. Commonly, you're on them 2-3 times a year, and on the roof, they collect higher amount of pollen. They clog more often. You have to go through tenants' apartments. It just creates a much harder maintenance going forward situation. So they're pretty thin. So they go almost up against the building without taking any space from the tenant from the backyards.
Good, Martin?
Good.
Absolutely. Listen, anything? I said no. All good. Love it. Staff, anything? Good. All right. Audience, anything? Oh boy.
Great, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Next up, we're moving to our meeting agenda. Project 00500 DPR number 0169442 Madison Avenue. Conversion of 1,550 square feet within the building at the purposes from a vehicle servicing to a retail convenience use, and the addition of 7 parking spaces. First appearance. No action this go around, but would certainly like to hear from the applicant, which is Madison Food Mart LLC. Welcome to the meeting. And floor is yours.
Chris, before we start, we have some people trying to get into the meeting downstairs, the door is locked. So somebody can somebody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll let them in before we talk. Should we start or? Okay. No problem. I'm Dan Coughlin, I'm the engineer representing Madison Food Mart. Professional, and this is Mauricio Casano. He's the general contractor for the Madison Food Mart. What we are presenting, this is an existing convenience store / gas station. Madison Food Mart bought this establishment recently, within about the last 2 years, and he wanted to increase. Before, this was part of this establishment was auto repair facility. Now we're going to, the proposal is to renovate and remove the auto repair facility that has been dormant actually for many years, and to actually change this into a full convenience store establishment. That's the 1,550 feet that was our chairman stated. So it's going to provide that about 2,000 square feet of convenience store total. Of course, it's on the corner of Madison and Lark, within the historic Center Square district. Zoning wise, we're a neighborhood center, as you can see on here. So there's already existing convenience store. We're now going to provide a lot more of convenience accessible to the local populace. It's always been a 24-hour establishment selling gas, and now. Thank you. No problem. So the property itself has the building, as you can see, is right on the property line, right behind it. So there's not. We are dealing with a limited space available to of area. At the same time, we want to be set. We are conscious of the safety of pedestrians walking along Lark Street, Madison. You know, this is of course Lark Street, which is a busy area with many festivals, many establishments, and many people around, and it's also right near Washington Park. So this over here shows the site plan. I'm showing right now the entrances and the entrance exits, so people can get to the gas station. walkers are gonna be also available to. Right now, the problem is basically anybody can walk in any direction. Now we're going to delegate it a separate walkway right there at the south, at the end of the drawing right here. We'll have one pedestrian walkway, which will be protected by the parking spaces, so people won't, so anybody entering there from Lark Street will be safe. There's gonna be a fence right next to them. A decorative fence, which will be up looking to a landscape berm. The property to the right to the south, that is are some residential properties, so we want to provide some cover to that. Over here, we have next few slides, two slides are focusing on the entrances, showing how the gas the tanker trucks, are already come in through the on that side of the pumps are all right at the corner. So the only way for the tanker truck to be able to provide fuel to be put into the holding tanks is to come in through Madison Avenue east of the pumps. So we need to have an entrance there, even though we do realize that the rule is 60 feet, but we can't move the pumps. This is the reason why there's going to be some variances at the end of this at the end of this, and we have limited space on the property, and the property has been existing for many years. So this over here, the slide shows the Lark Street, focusing on like before I talked about the pedestrian entrance, and we'll have one entrance exit for people can come there and actually park their cars right there, and also the exit onto Lark Street. So that will we are going to use planters to delineate these 20-foot entrances, so you won't have people coming in there from all directions anymore, providing much better safety situation. At the same time, the planters are going to provide an amenity that's going to provide delineate and provide a much better scene than just an empty that people will be able to stare at the parking lot per se. Over here we have a floor plan of the proposed gas station, proposed convenience store. Right now, basically in the right on the right top corner, that's where the existing convenience store is right now. So, but we're going to now pretty much, I was only 500 square feet, so we're going to adding 1,550 square feet of just building that's been there since the 60s. So it's and the auto repair facility has been dormant for so long. Over here we have the description of different of what's going to do. It's been a 24-hour establishment before, so we still want to keep the 24-hour establishment. We got the list of employees. Similar, this is a gas station similar to like the Dunkin' Donuts right across the street, or to also the Sunoco Delaware Avenue one. So we are applying, of course, for building for a construction building permit. After this, we've actually already drawn up the building plans, and we've already had discussions with the building department about this project. We've answered a lot of their questions, so so it's a lot of this stuff is going to go through. Maurizio also, if there's any, let's go on to the next slide. We're just showing that this project is actually within a historic district, because Mark Street is so important. With all the and it's right next to, of course, Washington Park, and how beautiful Washington Park is to Albany. We go on to the next one. This is the pedestrian walkway. We're going to, we want to make that walkway nice, at the same time safe. We're going to provide a fence right to the south, right to the left side. That's that area right to the properties down there is a little bit steep. My understanding, if it's right, but there's about 8 feet, but we're gonna landscape that whole area there, make it nice and provide that as green space. And we're gonna put shrubs there. This is what the building's gonna look like. I'm gonna let Mauricio talk for a little bit here.
So currently, right now, it's brick, the exterior facade. And, you know, you have those garage overhead doors. So what we're gonna do is convert those overhead doors into storefront windows and a center opening. There's gonna be a water table, and below that is a stove finish. Provided that in the packet, and I have some here just to kind of discuss if we need to. It just shows a stove finish with a stone finish.
If you just go back, please.
Yeah,
Sorry, the slides.
no worries. I'll just keep talking. So it has a stone, a stucco finish.
Oh, here's good.
Yep, stucco finish below, and it's got a stone texture to it. We're looking to select one of the colors there, blues, right there. Above it, above the water table is this new Techwood, it's composite siding. They use it a lot in Chipotle's and Dunkin' Donuts. We feel that that would be something that would work within that area. So we're going to cover all the existing brick facades with these products here. Just to chat a little bit about, you know, the process that we've been going through. It requires a lot of waivers. So the waivers are going to, thank you. So we have about 9 waivers, and I don't want to go through every single one, but
Please don't.
yeah. Thank you. So I just kind of made a quick rundown. So we have street frontage. So we're not complying with the USDOs, and it's because of the building and its location. It's an existing building. We're struggling with the boundaries. So it's setbacks like say a foot right to the butters. So we're working with an existing condition. We're working with the condition of the road of Madison and Locke being traffic, a lot of traffic, the tankers, the curb cuts. So what we've done was in the waivers, we've presented that we have some form of offsets and some trade-offs where we're going to put the planters in there. And the planters are going to be similar to the planter that's at the bar next door, where we're going to fill that in with some form of vegetation. So it meets one of the waivers where it requires so many trees on 50-foot frontage. Well, we can't put the trees there because the trees would die. So we're thinking of being creative here. So we're putting the planters, and if we have to put some trees in, we'll give it a shot.
Maybe some shrubs inside.
Yeah, something of that sort. But we're willing to do it, and we're also looking at the other properties that were done similar to this, and they have one with trees and one without trees. So again, that's why we have the waiver. We have the buffering situation. We have decided to add landscaping on the south side and create that buffer there with shrubs at 3 foot on center with a decorative fence to compensate for that. The loading situation, we really can't get around that because it's a safety hazard for us that we looked at it 5 or 6 different ways. The tanker truck has to come in. We've already worked out timing with them, so it would be late at night, so they get access to the site without interfering with morning or midday traffic. Then we had some screening and landscaping. Again, we chose the planters at a certain height so it wouldn't disturb any visual, because there's a lot of traffic, foot traffic there, and what we want to do is just create a boundary so that delineate the differences between the new food mart area or mart area and traffic. So I think we've done a great job on our documentations that we put together. Hopefully you guys find them to be in your liking. I don't think we have any other questions, really. I mean, you guys.
Yeah, I think we've covered, really anything. Let's move on to some questions, unless you want us to speak any more. Okay, all right.
We did receive some written comments that are on the record.
Okay. You want to go over those? I think that
We'll hold those. This is just first appearance, unless Julie or Andrew, are they here? Okay, we'll get to you after we go through. First, any comments from the board? I think Glenessa and I had probably the same question, which is, I heard you say tanker, but the gas station will stay, so this is more like a.
Oh, it's the wrong word. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Like the Stewart's, where it has a gas station and a larger convenience store. Is
Right,
that
right.
sort of like-
Right, the pumps are gonna stay where they are. That's what you're talking about. Of course, the building's gonna stay where it is. So basically, the auto repair, with the 3 auto repair, yes, are all gonna go, and that'll all be a convenience store.
Okay,
And we're gonna have a bathroom that'll be easily accessible to, from the inside. We're renovating the existing bathroom right now.
ADA compliant.
ADA compliant.
understood. Let's do the 2 comments from the public. Julie and Andrew, are you together or?
No, Andrew's not here. He wrote- We both wrote in
And
comments.
just to clarify, these are written comments that we got
Okay.
from them. They're added to the record of the
Added to
project
the record.
file, and we can share that with the
Perfect.
applicant.
Thank you.
Absolutely, but I did want to afford you the opportunity since you came to the meeting. Is there
No, I just
anything-
wanted to see what was going on and what
Okay.
they had to say.
Absolutely, thank you.
They I think they ought to also make a presentation to the neighborhood association.
We did do the postings. Can we come to?
Let's handle that conversation after we do this last project. Certainly understand neighborhood buy-in has always been key. I hate to see this come before the board 2, 3, 4, 10 more times as you fight against the neighborhood. I suggest that you really take that offer and, had a discussion. I found that to be.
We can have the owner present, owner and us, we can discuss afterwards, a time to meet with the neighborhood.
Staff, anything to add?
I'd say specifically, just kind of based on what you were saying tonight, we'll certainly need more information on the design and specifications of some of the materials you're referring to. Some of that will be for the facade itself. Some of that will be in reference to like the planters that you're referring to. There's a whole range of what's meant by planters. We'll want to see what you're talking about. We'll also have to check to see if it encourages on like visibility around the corner and things like that. That's it for me. I don't know.
I believe that is all.
Will this be sent to us? Or
I can email it to you.
or you'll email us?
I
Thank
can
you.
email this to you. Also, I can put you in touch with the neighborhood association contact, so
Good.
you can find out their
Perfect.
scheduled meetings.
Good, yeah, because we would do, I would do it for you. Raj and the 2 of us would be happy to do that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next project is 324 State Street, project number 00532, application number 0174 0069 is the other piece of that app. This is a conversion of 14,740 square foot building at the premises to a multi-unit dwelling with 29 dwelling units. There are no actions under consideration today. This is the first appearance. I failed as a chair last time to set the proper parameters for the applicant to present. You have a maximum of 10 minutes.
We won't use it all.
That will be fantastic. And then we will solicit comments and or questions from our board. See if there are any additional questions and or comments from the audience, which I assume there will be. And then we will hear the final word from our staff and adjourn this meeting.
Daniel Hirschberg and Hirschberg, here representing the applicant. And the applicant, 324 State Street LLC, the principal of that is right next to me, that's Ryan Janko. So we're here to make a preliminary presentation. The building had been occupied for a number of years by College of St. Rose. A significant number of employees were there. We are rehabbing the entire inside of the building to make it into 29 apartments with a total of 33 bedrooms. Most of them are one bedrooms or one bedroom with a den. There is space in there. We do have a recreation area in there, internal of the building. We have bike storage. We have tenant storage for some storage lockers for the tenants to use. We have a pet bath and 978 square feet of co-work space. We think this is an ideal location for people working in nearby downtown locations. Within walking distance, bicycling distance of an awful lot of areas in downtown. Working at the state, working at the city, working at various agencies. We think this will be a very well-received project by tenants. Project location is shown on the picture on the left. The red box is the existing building. On the site plan, we're right slap dab in the middle of an R2 zone. If we go to the next slide, this next slide shows you the aerial photo of the site. The white building surrounded by red is the building. The building occupies the entire site. There is no yards or areas around it. We have shown some preliminary thought of some street furniture, a couple planter boxes, bike racks, which I don't know whether or not we want to stick with those, being that they're normally required, but we'll have a bike room inside for the tenants. Question is, do we really still want 2 bike racks, one on Chestnut and one on State Street? We'll discuss that later as we get planning comments. We do plan on planting some trees along State Street. There's one tree on the east side of the site. We're going to add 2 more street trees in there. We are a little congested due to the wires and other things back on Chestnut Street, but we'll do our best to add some planter boxes back there to dress up that facade. The next sheet is actually the floor plan for the basement. I call it the basement, but it's at grade from Chestnut Street. You walk in at grade from Chestnut Street, you have a few steps down, and that is all converted. The little piece up top is like a subsurface area where there's some utility space down there. That's just shown. It's not habitable space at all. This shows the building accessing from Chestnut Street. The next slide is the first floor plan, which access from State Street. That's where the main access will be. It's got the lobby, it's got the rental office, it's got the, again, the rest of it is occupied by units and other facilities. And the second floor plan, which is the top floor, is the next sheet, that has some additional space in there. The co-working space is up there. It's 978 square feet, which is enough space for a number of workstations. There may be people living here who will live and work here because they got co-working space. If they don't want to work in their bedroom, they can always work in the co-working space. That's a popular feature for a lot of buildings these days. And the next slide shows increased sewer generation. We based it upon the flow from the number of units, from the number of beds. And the one at the arrow, it shows for, we took a history of daily use at the site, daily being taking a year and dividing by 365 days. Obviously, when it was office space, it wasn't open 365 days, but the use of it was 528 gallons per day. Which indicates to me that the number of employees in there number of employees or people in there must have been 60 or 70 people at one time to use that quantity of water. There's some people who say Rose may have a better answer for that, but I think basically when fully occupied, it probably had that. So what this shows that the increase in use is only 1,134 gallons per day. And that's a key element because if you increase the use by more than 2,500 gallons a day, we would have another layer of review by Albany County Department of Health and New York State DEC. We think that this is the proper way to treat it. We don't have any other comments right now, although Ryan, if Ryan wants to add something about the project, I think essentially I've outlined it, so we're ready to listen. Your comments or public comments.
Wanted to note, to clarify, it's in the RT residential townhouse zoning district. You mistakenly said the R2, just to clarify for the future.
Okay. Sorry.
Are there windows all the way around the building? Because I remember it's a big building, but it's kind of in a row.
Yeah, it sits between other buildings. There's a vacant lot on one side, which has some parking on it. But
Yeah, so if you go back to like the first or second floor plan,
the first picture shows it.
it's windows all the way around except on the east. If you go like, if you pick like, if you go to the first floor. So basically where the lobby is, the mail room, there's just no windows, just in the front on that side.
Okay, I see.
So the rest of it does have air and light. So we have the windows facing. Yeah.
The other point I just wanted to clarify is that because the site is currently legally non-conforming, other parking provisions, and prior use required 54 parking spaces, and the proposed use required 29. So there's no requirement to provide any parking since they were providing any to begin with.
Any comments? On the floor plan, I assume we'll probably decent sized spots. All of the little squares, I'm assuming those are columns on the inside?
In the apartments?
Yes.
Yeah, the columns. In the actual floor plans, we have the work of the chases for
Yeah.
roof drains, the pipes, but.
These are the concept site plan, or site plan floor plans. We have much more detailed floor plans that will present the future. There's some that are existing structural columns and some that are, when we put these walls in, we'll have corner columns on those too.
And there's 29 storage lockers, one for every apartment. One of the questions I'm sure is gonna come up is trash, which is
You said
indoors.
it's 29?
The
You
29.
know, I thought there was only 12. I counted the number of boxes.
Let's say, let's make sure.
I didn't realize they were stacked.
12 lockers.
No, they're not. On the updated, there's like 14 on one side and wraps around on the other side.
Okay,
All good.
In that same, talking about that same area.
we have a trash room at the back on Chestnut Street, where the trash will be rolled out just when it's picked up, so there won't be any outside trash storage at all.
Large companies will roll it out, dump it, put it back in, so there's never trash outside.
Absolutely. So let's get to, unless we have, you're good, I'm good, all the time. I think we have 3 people. Let's start with Jane, and Jane, please state your name and address so we can properly document you for the record, and welcome to the planning board meeting. We look forward
Thank
to
you
your
very
comments.
My name is Jane Schneider, I was born in Albany, I live about 3 doors up the street. Quite a number of years.
What's the address?
163
163.
Chestnut.
Thank you.
I wanted to just ask Mr. Epstein, I didn't understand. Are you saying that this buffer with developing this as an apartment building includes 29 parking spaces?
So the use, the 29 units would require 29 parking spaces under the code. There are other provisions that would reduce that number. However, they're not required to provide parking because it's already grandfathered that there is no parking for the site. So unless you were to put in a new use that would require more parking than the previous use, you're not required to provide parking now.
I think. When I moved to Chestnut Street, and even now, it is one of the greatest blocks in the city. Quality of life, neighborhood community is better than any, I can give you any street. I love my neighbors and I don't want to leave. Someday I'll get to be 90 and I'll probably have to leave. So the reason I'm here is unless there's actually offered parking places for these 29 spaces, some of which are large enough to have several adults, one of them is big enough, I believe. What this is doing, you have had an art building of a college. People didn't sleep there. They didn't shower there. They didn't invite guests overnight. It was never for that. And that is the use under the zone now. In order to change this, I'm told by a fairly experienced gentleman who's also my neighbor, there has to be a variation. There has to be a variation. You cannot go, I can't, you can't, nobody can go from saying, this is a school building where people made beautiful art at certain hours of day and night, who never lived there, didn't have an office, weren't going to be, under deadline and working many hours a day. They were there for their classes and to do their art. So I believe that without that, without a guarantee that there are sufficient parking places, you are damning my street to less than the value of any one home there, because nobody in this day and age, I don't care if they, take planes places or go by Uber. Everybody needs some vehicle. And I will be very disappointed if the most sophisticated and the second oldest city in the country can't protect one of its nicest streets on which our very well-known mayor was born. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Richard. Richard here.
Richard is not here. He offered to cede his time to whomever might want it.
Chair, we do have Mr. Clark in the audience who wasn't signed up to speak earlier. Who would like to be quiet?
Let's do, is Daniel Fitzgerald. Just want to remind, we have a 3-minute courtesy presentation slot for the public, and there have been times we grant more, but please share your thoughts.
I will work through it as quickly as I can. I will be touching on parking just because I had some final points that I wanted to bring up, not to rehash what was already said. So I'm glad to see that there's active work to repurpose the building that formerly housed the St. Rose Art Department. It's important we not allow buildings in the city to remain vacant and potentially detrimental to our neighborhoods. It's equally important that any development be done with careful consideration of laws, regulations, and the existing neighborhood. The conditional use permit application, Part 5, Section B states there should be no negative impacts on adjacent properties. I believe this statement in the application is either erroneous or overlooks the potential issue with the additional vehicles for the 29 apartments, with tenancy likely to well exceed that. While the application Part 4, Section A states building is properly located for tenants who want it to be within walking distance of major employers such as New York State, it does not rule out that each occupant will have a vehicle for use other than their commute to work. In fact, that may mean that there are 29 or more spots occupied by vehicles that are rarely moved to free up parking. Considering this development is one of many additional residential developments recently built, under construction, or proposed in the area, there will be an overall cumulative impact on the parking, and some form of mitigation should be required, and the application should be changed to reflect that. An additional concern is the impact of construction. As I've stated, parking in the area is limited. I would suggest permit requirements be that construction workers be provided with parking other than on-street parking, and that workers walk or be shuttled to the job site from other parking during construction. Additionally, steps should be taken to limit the emergency no parking used during construction, so the impact on parking in the neighborhood is reduced. I also suggest that any conditional permit or work permits require set work hours to reduce noise outside of the regular business hours. One of the big benefits I see of this project is that it will put the building back on the tax rolls. I love St. Rose, but hey, you know, some taxes for the city are good. In the conditional use permit application, Part 5, Section E, the applicant states that no public funds other than potential historic tax credits will be used to improve the site or for the operation. Yet the short environmental assessment form, Part 1, Section 2, states that the project may be applying for IDA funding, which seems to be a form of a tax break potentially, and therefore a source of public funds. The applicant should clarify this matter, and no conditional use permit should be issued until it is clear what taxes the project will pay. I request that until the parking issue is addressed and the tax matter is clarified, that the public hearing be kept open until the developer provides the additional information and the public has a chance to comment on that. I look forward to seeing the additional information on this project and the appropriate actions taken by the board.
Thank you. Please make sure that you submit your comments. Thank you.
Touch my office.
You brought up a good point, so I just want to clarify, this is the meeting, there will be a public hearing in the future, so technically a public hearing hasn't actually opened yet.
And for the record, Daniel, I don't remember, what was your address?
Oh, sorry, 167 Chestnut Street.
Now, Richard is not here, but there was someone that wanted to speak on that side.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Not a problem. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
My name is Ron Clark, and I live on 128 Chestnut Street. I support housing, especially affordable housing. And as we know, there's places for that. However, I believe 324 State Street is not the place for that. And it's gonna affect Chestnut Street also. Where I live is across the street from the back of the building. And right now it's nice and quiet and it's subtle. But with the addition of 29 units, it's gonna be a lot added. Parking is gonna be horrific. It's already hard to get parking right now. So the residents that are there now, and I understand tenants will be happy, but we have to consider the residents that's there now, and I'm one of them. Garbage, are there gonna be more garbage pickups? Are there gonna be more street cleaning? Are there gonna be any guarantees that the neighborhood, the historic neighborhood is gonna maintain itself as it is now? I know the gentleman mentioned that it'll be ideal for the downtown workers, but can he guarantee that we're gonna have downtown workers living there? There are no guarantees, and we need to keep the historic neighborhood historic. To me, I'm thinking to revise an historic neighborhood, we need to go back in history and change that, and I don't think we can do that. So keeping 324 State Street non-residential with this many units coming, I think that would be the goal that we need to achieve towards. It's gonna be rapid deterioration. A lot of people, more pets. I personally don't see any advantage on adding that many units to that area. there are plenty of areas around that we can look at to add units. There are plenty of vacant lots. And I think we need to repurpose those vacant lots. I don't think we need another Central Avenue, no offense to anyone that lives on Central Avenue, but bringing that many people to a neighborhood changes the neighborhood, changes that community. And it will change it, and I don't think it will be for the better. So I am adamantly opposed to a multi-unit dwelling on 324 State Street. Thank you very much.
Thank you. For the record, I want to acknowledge that we have 4 sets of written comments as well that have been officially put to the record. There's no action to be taken on this one, so staff, final word on this project. We know we'll see it again.
Say it's a type 2 seeker action. So it's under seeker would require any additional review. Referral to the Albany County Planning Board is it out? It's outstanding, so we still have to hear back from them. If there are to be any changes to the exterior, the facade, or anything like that, obviously need review from the Historic Resources Commission. Unless they're minor enough to be done administratively. At this point, I don't think we've received anything to indicate that there will be. There might be a need for some waivers, but we'll get back to the applicant regarding those comments. And then I would just note that they're under the new affordable housing laws in the zoning code, a minimum of 2 dwelling units or 7% have to be made affordable pursuant to the USDA requirements. So just in the update, we'll just have to have that noted somewhere in the table.
Thank you so much. This meeting has run its course, and I want to thank everybody from the various parts of the city and the professionals that have come out today to participate in today's public forum. Been doing this for quite a while now, and I find that we like to hear all the voices as we deliberate, and you all really did a good job. I've been in some meetings where folks didn't like the project and love it. So thank you for that and helping us get out of here before 8 o'clock while the sun is still.
That's good.
So with that being said, is there a motion to adjourn from the board?
So moved.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Ms. Bayard and seconded by Martin Hall to conclude and adjourn today's meeting. Time is now 7:42. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Take care.